Hello and welcome back to our playthrough of EV Nova, the Auroran storyline. So, when we last left off, we were just instructed to go out into the galaxy and try pitting ourselves against some of the many challenges to be found in the Auroran Empire, while the Auroran Herani Council decides what we're going to do next. So, as always, I don't know if there's an actual time delay on this, so we're just going to try to take off and immediately re-land. There we go. Apparently the challenges of the universe can be summed up by leaving and returning to the spaceport. So, sure. You are summoned before the council by a messenger. He stops you, fetching your loincloth with a laugh. That is only worn on formal occasions. The clothes you have on now will suffice. In an annex of the Great Hall, Curran indicates for you to sit at the table with Bazara Nauada, Skullsplitter, the head of the family, and his advisors, Tautha. Oh, hey, it's like the Tautha system. Tautha Widowmaker, the Torkir, Thekarak, the Bloody Hammer, imposes over the gathering. His tattoos are so closely packed it is all but impossible to see his actual flesh color. Curran talks of the corruption and complacency of the Moash, leading the Auroran people down a dark path of little hope. He speaks of the ascendancy of the House of Heron, and the work to topple the House Moash. It is our belief, he intones seriously, that we only need to find their weakness in order to crush them utterly. Little wolf, he says, you will not be a typical Auroran warrior. You will be an integral part of House Heron's war machine, a spy, a phantom of retribution, a thorn in the flesh of the Federation, a turner of tides. Yours will be a lonely path, and a dangerous one. I saw the potential in you, as did Karlakar. Your skill is great. If you fulfill your potential, you will be a major worry for our enemies. Sure enough. Tekarak now turns to you and grins. I'm not going to blow smoke up your bum, boyo. Curran can do that. What I'm going to say is that the destruction of the Moash is the most important task I could ever take on. It's tis me life work. Ugh, bad accents. He gestures along the edges of Auroran space on a holographic map. There are rumors of a supply fleet moving from Federation space into Moashi space. You've just got the job to destroy it. One problem is, it has connections with the Bureau of Internal Investigation. This bureau is supposedly a department of officials dedicated to protecting the Federation from espionage, but, in reality, they basically run the Federation. These guys make the most bloodthirsty of killers look like my Aunt Daffodil. They have no honor whatsoever. If the Bureau is working with the Moashi, we know who to blame for the blockade of dominance. Combine that with Burra's treachery, and you have a merry mix. But this is just conjecture. I need you to check out the ships that in that convoy. I suggest you disable one and board it. Capture some of the cargo, and then destroy the rest of the convoy. You may get lucky and find the escort light. Well, if not, you'll have a real fight on your hands. Get it? Good. You smile at Tekarak. Even though he is the toughest warrior in the ranks of House Heron, he also has a sense of humor. Bidding farewell to all, you rise and to camp. Alright, so this mission is exactly what it says. There's a convoy coming down from Federation space. I believe it's going to be in this system. And we need to disable one of the IDF frigates and then board it. So, as always, disabling is going to be the hardest part because our ship is made to blow things up, not disable them. I think the best way to do it is probably to either pay to land here or land on Beery. We're probably going to try to land on Beery, in which case I'm going to come at it from the Moash side, otherwise we're going to have issues with triggering the convoy before we want to. Let's go to Beery. Oops. And see what there is to be done. This mission is, it can be pretty tricky if you're not already suited to combat, because it does come with a pretty heavy escort, and I believe it does try to jump away. I'm sorry, what are we doing? Are these marauders? No, they're just traitors. I don't know why you're doing that. But, you know, these little space station listening posts are always a pain. Alright, so this will be our staging area. So just in case we get blown up or we fail, we can always reload from here. But of course we're going to try to avoid that. So there's the Bureau IDA frigate. Kind of disable that as fast as humanly possible without getting disabled ourselves. If I was going to be careful, I could do this on, like, not 2x speed, but then again, being careful is anathema to Auroran ideas. I've never had this much trouble from a Valkyrie before. Okay, so he's jumping out, which means I can... Ah, he jumped away. Alright, we need to get out of here. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to jump away. We'll be dead. Oh no, he was still there. Alright, either way. Oh, got a maneuver here. It's a pirate. But even as we are now, a simple lowly pirate could take us out. Gotta weave between these missiles. And ideally back towards this tiny little station. Remember, we're not running away, we're retreating. It's different. A lot of rebels. Sorry, not a lot of rebels. A lot of marauders and pirates. Alright, let's try this again. I do want to take off and have, like, fresh shields for this. Yeah, just a little bit of skirmish between the Federation and the Aurorans, so we're just going to ignore that, and we're going to try to do this again. Alright, so we're just going to get in position, get behind him, and just try to take him out. Yes, so that one we can destroy. This one we need to disable. We're going to try to do that at a range so we don't hit him with the fusion pulse cannons. We just want to hit him with the railguns. Now, some ships disable at 40%, some disable at, I think, 10. So I don't want to overdo it because it could very easily end with destroying it by accident. Is there another one? Come on, just disable. Alright, so, yep. So there he is. Now I just need to deal with this guy. Oh, it's a pirate. It's not even a bureau ship. It's just bad luck, I guess. So him I could probably try to rush, but we have inevitability here, so why mess with things? And plus he's going to get close enough to get in my fusion pulse cannon range. And it looks like he's using IR missiles, so unguided missiles, or maybe Raven missiles. So I have no concerns about having to worry about having an effective jammer. They were just going straight past me. Alright, so let's go ahead and board this Bureau supply frigate and see what they are carrying to the Moash. We've retrieved the supplies. So the best way to get out of here is probably go back to Nurse Secondus. And brilliant, this Viper is very ambitious. I'm actually going to land, just to be safe. Because apparently the station has decided that we're cool guys. I anticipate probably because we blew up a pirate. Usually that increases your reputation with all neighboring systems. Let's not go through the Moash space, even though, strictly speaking, they still, quote-unquote, tolerate us. Alright, the battle was remarkably brief. You tell Turkarak as you dock, but they were very upset with me by the time I left. Turkarak chuckles and nods knowingly. You get the impression he has done this before. Together you open the cargo container you captured and are surprised to see it full of pile upon pile of credit chips. Hunting through, you find a computer pad and quickly run a patch to break into the encoded information. It takes a while. You scan the contents. You are more than a little surprised by what you see. The Bureau were exchanging the cache and containers of weapons and supplies for Moash spies in return for accelerating operations against the wild geese in New Ireland. They felt that those mercenaries were a threat to the future balance of power in the Galactic South, and might hamper operations between the Federation and the Moash Empire. You feel the anger rise inside your chest, fiery as the furnaces of hell itself. The Moashi were planning to liquidate the remaining families. If ever there was a piece of information that could bring down the first family, this was it. Tekarak smiles at you wolfishly. You picked the right container, didn't you? Keep this to yourself for the moment. I need to consider the best possible way to use this newfound information. In the meantime, he smiles proudly. You should be out there making a name for yourself, little wolf. The road ahead of us is long and arduous. I need to know you are ready. If you can show me that you are stronger than our enemies, I will look for you here. Alright. So, You are headed to the bar for a bit of break when you feel a buzzing in your message comp. You head to the side of the walkway, stepping out into a throng of people walking back and forth, and quickly patch the message through. A hologram of Tekarak springs from the tiny projector, and Tekarak tells you that the council has need of your presence immediately. You need to get to the Great Hall. Or you rush to the Great Hall. As you enter, you are rushed into the main tactics room. Warriors stand around the walls, guarding the important house figures within. Tekarak glances up from a map of nearby system and waves you over. I have a mission for you, he says. Do you feel like going for a run out to Moash? Oh, okay. There seems to be something afoot between the Moash and the Federation again. I need you to head out to Moash. There is a Heron undercover man I want you to collect. He should have more information, but don't trust it to subspace transmission. It must be something very important to warrant such action, so be on your guard. You nod and you head for the door. Alright, so it's just an extraction mission. I think this is a non-story mission. It's like one of those side things that you can occasionally get to fill time. It's like how you do the base defense in the Rebel storyline. So you're sauntering towards the main bar when a Moash warrior steps out from the shadows. He scrutinizes you before asking if you had any news of the Thermbur Flaming Wings. This is an older code for Heron contacts, and at first you balk. After a few uncertain moments, you reply that Thermbur is well. He smiles as he reaches out a hand in friendship. You sense all is not right. You disable him and drag him into a nearby alleyway. A short time later, you have all the information you need. The Heron spy has been discovered and is currently being held under house arrest, awaiting a Moash interrogation squad. At the house, you cruise past the two guards. As soon as their eyes leave you, you spin with one blast end both their lives. Using one of the guards' fingers to open the door, you dive through, cutting short of the military careers of another two men before finding the spy. The man is in bad shape, but he is Heron. He will live. You cut his bonds and hoist him over your shoulder. As you bolt to your ship, klaxons and alarms are sounding, and you know that you're going to face some determined enemies as you leave. Leaping to the controls, you simply hit the bricks, praying that you will break out of here and back to your way Heron before too many can get on your tail. And it does launch us right into space, so that's one of the few missions that does not let you do anything before you take off. And you can even see Moash traffic control down there. Stop that ship! Yes, sorry, you're not stopping anything. My ship is properly equipped, unlike many of yours. So we are just going to quickly zip up to Nurse Secondus, and then we're going to take the Hypergate around back to Heron, which is probably the best way to do things. There is a route between Heron space and Moash space, but it's kind of circuitous, and don't want to spend any more time in Moash space than we absolutely need to. This guy's just running away. He's not even fighting back. Oh well. Was curious to see what was going to happen. So, Heron medics are awaiting your ship, per the instructions you transmitted upon entering the system. They take over the care of the spy, who is starting to look better since the Moash warriors stopped trying to bludgeon his skull with their bare hands. He waves his thanks as they walk him away on a grav stretcher. You wave back before heading for debriefing. Tekarak waves you to a seat and tells you that he's glad that you went through such extremes to save the spy's life. Apparently the information in the man's intel report was enough for the War Council to place a number of other operatives on the task of keeping tabs on crucial Moash shipping, and more cryptically, on some specific Federation ships. Tekarak instructs you to meet him in the bar later, where he will expand to the story. It's not that I didn't want to tell you, or I don't want to tell you, he smiles, but more I think I might be sending you on another mission almost immediately, so don't drink too much. Alright. Indeed, we have another mission almost immediately. You've been waiting for Tekarak for hours and are about to give up. Tekarak bursts through the door with a wild look in his eye. Little wolf. He is almost beside himself with excitement. We have the Moash now. Our spy on Moash discovered a conspiracy. The Moash were going to allow Federation fleets safe passage across the Auroran border to attack the Tekkel and Danny houses. This is huge. It would be enough to turn the Danny and Tekkel houses against the Moash. But coming from us, neither house would believe it, so it falls to us to stop the threat. The plan is called for most fleets to send coded messages to the Federation fleets, who would then jump into Auroran space without a shot being fired. The Council proposes to send 2 battle fleets, one each to head to the Danny and Tekkel rendezvous points, destroy the listening posts there, and quickly erect new ones, feeding signals back to the Moash on Aurora that all is well. Of course, the Moash fleets will be nothing but an expanding debris field, and we will be waiting for the Federation. The Federation will be vulnerable and not expecting attack. We will clean their clocks. Unfortunately, for this to happen, I need you to go and steal something from the Federation. Are you keen? Of course we're keen. The Federation has a research facility on Menace. It deals with the research and development of coding and decoding arrays, and for the specific development of jamming technology. It is called Project World Eater. I need you to go to this station and break into the research facility. Our techs are working round the clock to create a couple of little gadgets that will make the job easier, but when all is said and done, it will be a difficult task. They will make you a multi-pass key, or multi-key pass, which will crack the lockout on the doors in the facility. The amount of power that's required to do so is immense, so use it sparingly. You will also have a special makeup to cover your tattoos. Most of our operatives inside the Federation use it. It will mean a haircut and a shave, but I'm sure you can live with that. Our techs will give you a schematic of what the devices will look like, but just to be sure, take a quantum solid copy of their files. Then get out quick. Once you're in the clear, send word and a fleet will jump in and destroy the station. They'll be traveling incognito using stolen ships, mostly pirate-modified Valkyries. Sounds simple, huh? None of that sounded simple, but, you know, cool. I'm up for it. So as always, we can just probably zip there using the old Hypergate network, so it's all the way in Leston. Alright. That's not too bad. So there we go. And zip down here. And see what we can do. I suspect there's going to be quite the blockade on this planet, so it's going to immediately ready to... No, there isn't. I was going to say zip around and get around, but we're okay. In the early hours of the morning, you quickly make your way to the R&D area of the station. You expect the Federation security forces to descend on you at any minute, but the techs have done an amazing job forging your pass card and identification. And so far you've been cleared through each checkpoint with a cursory glance. Before long, you reach the Project World Eater research offices. In the lock, the multi-key pass bursts into life, buzzing quickly through the various possible codes at a furious rate. The door soon slides open. You are shortly in the main lab and examining the arrays before you. Each one is in a different stage of completion. Grabbing the one closest to complete, you then find the jamming device close to the schematic you memorized. You can seal both in the satchel that the Heron tech gave you. It's a shroud bag, designed to allow the true components of the bag to be concealed under sensor scans, instead displaying innocuous items. This is the first field trial, and you pray that it works. You copy the researcher's files to a quantum solid crystal and head for the door. The trip back to your ship is stressful, but ultimately uneventful. And for once, it seems, everything has gone off without a hitch. Do things ever really go off without a hitch? So we have an association ship attacking us. Weird that the association would have it out for us. But I'm not too concerned about it. So that was pretty smooth. Pretty smooth indeed. Another association ship has it out for us. Are we just going to be followed by association ships? Does not appear to be the case. And now we can just zip into the Hypergate network and we are gone. Gone in no time at all. And safe. Alrighty. Heron tacticians run away with the samples you have stolen and with the file copy you retrieve for them. They quickly ask if you had a chance to look at the various inventions, and if you have any ideas or thoughts on them. You tell them they will have to wait for you to report, but that you would be glad to help them perfect their designs at a later stage. One of the techs suggests that you discuss it over a couple drinks in the bar, and you readily agree. You head off for debriefing. Tekarak is delighted, and the head of Heron Research and Development sends his personal thanks. It seems that the copy you took from the Federation files also contained the theories of various new encryption techniques. It is felt by the science community that the possibility for new technology in the Heron House is high, since the theoretical knowledge you stole is worth years of research. Tekarak has received word that the Federation have sifted through the wreckage of Marin and are thought to be unaware of the theft ever taking place. I'm just thinking now, like, did they actually destroy that station? If I go back, is it gone? All in all, he says, the plan is coming together nicely. I'd hate to be the Moash in a few days' time. You both chuckle and head for the bar. I'm actually going to buy an automatic recharger, which just recharges your ship every time you land, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. So we sit down in the bar. Tekarak spies you sitting chatting to a few other warriors as soon as he walks into the bar. He ushers you to a quiet corner. Swift action is required. Things are afoot here that even our combined minds could not have foreseen. The Danny have begun to sniff around the borders of Harani space like the dogs that they are. It is necessary that they do not cause too much havoc. Our warriors are still smarting from the Moash blockade. 'Twould be politic at the moment? To also be politic at the moment if the other houses knew little about the strengths or weaknesses of House Heron. The Danny must withdraw without forcing our lads into a swirling battle across a multitude of systems. No doubt the Moashi have put them up to it from behind the scenes. Cunning curs the Moashi, avoiding suspicion by bullying us by proxy. So, you are to lead a raiding force into Danny space. I suggest hitting the Danny Himiar system, as my intelligence tells me that they have an elite formation of warships patrolling there while their normal fleets are out harassing us. If you spot them, destroy them, but be warned, by the time you start to jump back to Harani space, the Danny war fleets posturing on our borders will have turned around, headed for home. You'll have to come back through that way. Tekarak grins at you. You get the impression that if you were forced to give the Danny a bloody nose on your way home, Tekarak would not mind. I apologize. I seem to have just gone through the other part of that. I assumed that was over. But I think we got the gist of what we need to do. So we're going to take a quick trip over to Danny. This carrier here is actually our escort, so we can use that to cause some havoc. As long as he doesn't get too harassed. Carriers are honestly kind of useless, at least in my opinion. But we're going to blow up everything that we possibly can here. Oh, that's a Heron ship. I almost opened fire. So let's check our mission real quick. Disrupt shipping and generally make a nuisance of yourself. Okay, we'll do. And we already did it. We got a message from the flagship saying they've destroyed all the things. I don't think we need to land on the station and do anything. Yeah, we can't cause havoc on the station. But, hey, that worked out swimmingly. So we go back to Danny. It might be Donnie. I just call it Danny. And back into the hypergate we go. So the hypergates really do make the game far faster. It is with some relief that you touch down on the landing pad. The battle against the Danny was hard fought. No, it wasn't. But you have given Tekarak some more time to put his plans into action. You do feel somewhat disappointed that you couldn't just take a fleet in Danny space and crush them for attempting to harass House Heron. That's pretty much what we did. But you realized that in doing so you would lack the grace required of a true warrior, and that it would be akin to entering a room by blasting a hole through the wall. Tekarak interrupts your train of thought by clasping your arm in greeting. I've been jabbering with Kurod, he smiles warmly, and he reckons that you're very good. 'Tis unfair, says he, that one as young as you is so calm and calculating in combat. But that's the way things go, says I. We veterans like to think that we'll live forever, that will be never anyone as good as we. But here you are, showing us a thing or two and making us feel as old as we look. He throws his head back and laughs heartily. As he walks away to greet some of the others, you head for your bunk. But somehow the bar gets in the way, and it is with a very heavy head that you wake the next morning. Alright, so a complete success. Let's see what's next on the docket. Tekarak waves to you as you enter. You get the feeling that he is well in his cups, but his mood is extremely jovial. As you sit down, Kurod proffers you a large stein. You take a long pull and gasp, eyes watering, as the strength of the booze hits you. Tekarak and Kurod laugh so hard they almost fall from their chairs. Once they have calmed down, and you work out that you can see straight if you squint your right eye, Tekarak explains why you're feeling the effects more than normal. A great warrior I know introduced me to this drink. It's called an Irish Boilermaker. A fine fellow, that Archandar, which is the wild geese Eamon Flanagan. Tekarak drifts into the memories for a moment and then continues. Anyway, we are celebrating your latest honor. And what honor is that? You slur at Tekarak, much to Kurod's amusement. You are being sponsored to serve with the Rimmertons. My young hero, Tekarak chuckles. Only the greatest of warriors are allowed to do this, as it requires the sponsorship of Tokir of a house. The Rimmertons can always turn down the deal, of course, but they have always accepted warriors from House Heron. You are about to ask more about your upcoming assignment when Curran and Bazara enters the bar. The night seems to blur away. All right. The gathering in the council chamber is much quieter one the next morning. As you gently sit down, Nada and Tutha are present, but having not joined the celebrations of the night before, look many times better than anyone else there. Curran clears his throat and tells you about your next assignment. You are to fly to Rimmerta in the Pimmon system. Once there, you have to speak with Lo Wang, a man of infinite wisdom and patience. He'll explain what will be required from you. Working with the Dektikars is not easy, but you will learn much. So good luck and work hard. There may be some strange days ahead for you. So this is the kind of service to the Empire people. They're independent from any house, and they are considered to be above reproach in matters of politics. So they serve as judges and the like. Jumping into the Freya system for a little bit more of the Norse influence. It's interesting. The Aurorans are like Norse Vikings with the kind of the Japanese bent to them with the whole warring states and the honor. But anyway, as you walk down the gangplank, you find yourself in the most clean and efficient looking space dock in Auroran space. You are startled to see men actually polishing the floor with tiny pieces of cloth. You turn to find a heavily tattooed man before you. You notice that his tattoos are mostly for battles with the Federation, but there are many from inner house fights also. You notice that there are symbols from kills accredited to all 5 houses, but before you can wonder about it too much, the man addresses you. Leroy of House Heron, I am Lo Wang, and I am your sponsor here. This means that if you do not adapt quickly, you may find yourself heading home, perhaps breathing, perhaps not. I am the leader of the Dektikars. We are warriors without a house, devoting our lives to serving the Auroran Empire, not just one of its subsidiary houses. It was we who defended the Auroran states from itself, and who act as guardians of Auroran culture. We are the buffer between houses, stopping any bloodletting from getting out of hand. Please, follow me to your lodgings. Your work will begin tomorrow. You were assigned a Rimmerton partner called Hoon, of the Order of the Crimson Sword, Hoon explains. While most Rimmertons have some leaning towards a particular house, they are all committed to the Auroran cause first. My father, Lo Wang, leads towards House Heron, and was the partner to Tekarak when he served with the Rimmertons. It is the start of a strange time for you, patrolling the borders of Auroran space, soaring amongst side warriors from other houses, and the ever-calm Dektikars. You will catch yourself wondering why all of Auroran space cannot be like this, and hope that someday it will be. Have a look around for a bit, he says with a smile. There'll be plenty of time to catch up later. Alright. When you enter, you see Hoon and Lo Wang sitting at a table near the door. The Dektikars have heard of raids by houseless warriors on the frontier settlements of Conte in the Conte system, Lo Wang informs you quietly after you sit down. The Auroran settlers have discovered a valuable deposit of palladium, but these honorless thieves have been plundering their shipments as they leave the planet. You and Hoon are charged with sorting out the culprits. Hoon looks at you strangely. Do you accept? Of course we accept. Hoon grins, suddenly glad, and slaps you on the shoulder. You pass the first test. Now we need to go down to the cursed planet and help these silly people out. Cursed planet? You ask quietly. It has a giant artificial ring around it, replies Hoon defiantly. Diffidently. Alright. And every time the scientists try to have a look at it, they end up disappearing without a trace. So everyone else in the system, taking everyone else in the system with them. You look at him apprehensively. Dying in battle to the service of Heron or the Empire is one thing. Being swallowed up by an unknown space menace is another. Hoon chuckles. Don't worry about yourself. We probably will not even have to be on the planet for too long. Okay, so this is one of the, off the top of my head, 3 missions that sends you down to Conte. The other 2 being the Sigma Shipyards mission, so we've actually been down there once before. And the other being... now I'm drawing a blank. Oh, launch the research probe. So this is the 3rd, and this is the one that actually is kind of fun because there's some combat involved. So as always, the best way to get down there is to go to Tekkel via the hypergates and then just jump down there. We could try doing the wormhole Kippa thing, but really that should be avoided unless you absolutely have to. Because after all, it's full of pirates. Or houseless warriors, as they're referred to in the Auroran Empire. So we're going to make a pit stop at this system, that way we can make sure we can get there and back without having to refuel, and maybe even have a little bit of juice left to do some afterburning maneuvers. Gonna touch down here. And now we are gonna be good to go. I do wish there was other upgrades you could get to increase how fast you enter hyperspace, but there's nothing to be done about it. So what's interesting about Conte is that... Where are the pirates? Yeah. What's interesting about Conte is they have confirmed that, or by they I mean the ATMOS team, the ones present on the subreddit at least, have confirmed that the purpose of Conte was... It was built by the aliens called Those Who Came Before, which are the people who came before humanity. And supposedly it was supposed to transport things via some sort of captured wormhole to another location. So it's kind of like the Hypergate system for them. So when they say the scientists disappear without a trace, it's more than likely to get ported to wherever Conte's supposed to go. After fighting your way through the heavier than expected pirate presence, if that's heavier than expected, I guess we didn't expect like anything, you managed to touch down near the settlement camp to see many of the men and women, obviously with little martial experience, trying to hold out these treacherous dogs from their ramshackle homes. As soon as you and Hoon enter the fray, the battle turns. You hit them with everything you have, and the honorless dogs quickly give ground, and not one survives to reach the relative safety of space. "Thank you, sirs," says the grateful leader of the colonists. "We thought that we were going to die." "At least you chose to go down fighting," grunts Hoon gruffly, obviously uncomfortable with the praise, and you grin at his discomfort. "But we would ask of you one favor," continues the settlement leader with some trepidation. "All of our spacecraft have been destroyed by House's pirates, and we need to pay our sponsors back on Danny for passing on some of the palladium we've managed to acquire. Can you help us out?" You're about to snap that you're not merchants to be carrying around produce, but Hoon places a restraining hand on your arm, and the man shrinks from your obvious rage. "Of course we will," he intones quietly. "True warriors are tasked to protect all the citizens of the Empire from all dangers, be they combat or mercantile-based." You have the grace to look ashamed, and you immediately head back to your ship to begin loading. Alright, so that's pretty straightforward, right? And I think we're going to get back to Danny, and then we're going to call it an episode. Goodbye, Conte. And you may notice that Conte uses the same graphic as our Spiel, which I believe those are the only two systems in the game that use it. Also, it uses the same sprite as our Spiel. I guess they just really like Conte. And I can't blame them, it's a cool system. I wish they'd done more with it, but according to them, they both ran out of time, and they had this whole Ring World aesthetic going, but then Halo was released that year, so they kind of had to scrap it as not to seem derivative. The sponsors of the settlers are over-gracious with their thanks. They entertain you with a breathtaking feast, and send the two of you off with a barrel of Nibos, an alcohol so strong it is forbidden on some colonies. However, Hoon has been giving you lessons on drinking. He tells you of all the different positions within the various houses, and despite having been a warrior for some time now, you have spent most of your time wandering the galaxy in service to your house and have not had these things explained to you. You have the elders of the house who act as the ruling body of advisors, he tells you, and then you have the Torkir, Obsidian Heart, Arbiter of Reckoning, and the Mondakir, Heart of the Crushed Garnet, the Eye of Fury. The easiest way to think about this is the Monarchir is the military head of the warriors of his or her house, and in charge of protecting against any of the purely physical dangers. The Thorokir, on the other hand, is the spiritual head of the warriors of his or her house, in charge of protecting against any of the more nefarious threats to their house, be they spiritual, threats to the house's honor, or even espionage and sabotage. So, that's more up our alley. Often the Mondakir and the Thorokir will end up working together, Hoon finishes, slightly slurring his words, due to the copious quantities of Nibos beer you have both imbibed. They do this to protect the house in every way possible. The warriors are their pawns to use and defend their house as best they can. Some of them are more valuable than others, but ultimately they are just pieces of the house defenses. Somehow the thought that you're just a block in a defensive wall of the Heron house fills you with pride. Your role may or may not be large, but without you, that wall will be harder to keep strong, and that makes your whole life worthwhile. Anyway, Hoon mutters drunkenly, we need to get back to Rimma Taj to receive any further missions that might be requested of us. I'll see you back there. With that, he drunkenly staggers off towards his ship. Don't drink and fly. Don't be this guy. Alright, well, we're a little bit over time, so I think we're going to go ahead and call it here. So thank you very much for joining me. If you liked this content, please leave a like and a comment down below. If you want to see more of it, please consider subscribing and going back and watching the earlier playthroughs. There should be 3 of them at this point up. And until next time, which should not be long after this, I hope you have a good one.